Hi, and welcome to All the Woo A to Z. We're your hosts, Suzanne.
And Mychal, and this is season 2.
Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I have spent this week, I feel like I said this every week, but getting my parents' house ready for the next part of the project.
And I'm Mychal, and I am trying to figure out how to raise my fire chi. Figure that out.
So, welcome to All the Woo A to Z,
And this is
episode V for Vowels.
Vowels. As always, we want to ask you to join us at our table our non-judgmental table where we share our own experiences, insights, understandings, opinions on these topics, and at the very least, hope that you are entertained.
So, what's the deliciousness that we are drinking?
So, in the spirit of vowels, the name of the wine that we are enjoying today is Eieio White Pinot Noir. And so this is from Oregon.
I had no idea, y'all. That's great, Mychal.
Yeah. So we're also, the reason why I picked, because they do a lot of other varieties, we're doing their white Pinot Noir, which is not something that you see that often in general, because very rarely do you see a word that contains only vowels, right? But also in general, white Pinot, a lot of people are familiar with regular Pinot Noir as being red, and white Pinot Noir is not like you think of like white Zinfandel versus regular Zinfandel. So it's not like sweeter or anything like that. The difference is that they just don't allow the juice to come in contact with the skins in order to take on the color.
Gotcha.
So it's literally in its most pure form, which I feel might translate a little bit to this episode as well. So it's a little unusual in a lot of ways, and I feel like that just works. So we're going with it.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome. So vowels. I know A-E-I-O-U, and sometimes Y. So sometimes why are we talking about this right now, Suzanne?
Why is this woo, Suzanne?
Yes.
Okay, so this is so fascinating. So I've taken my love for language
Mm-hmm.
and words, and now I'm like breaking it down into letters and sounds.
Because you just couldn't get enough.
Just the multiplicity of the whole thing.
Yes.
So one of the fascinating things is that each vowel sound
Mm-hmm.
has its own shape
Yes.
of the tone. And so it has a, dare I say, unique shape.
Yes.
So when we say all the woo,
Mm-hmm.
we have the ah of all.
Mm-hmm.
We have nothing for the.
Yeah.
And then we have ooh.
Well, I can tell you, as somebody who does the editing on our episodes, that the little squigglies that you see that are the sounds that whenever I say things like or so they have a very distinct look to them. And I know there's a technical word for this. My mind's blanking on that. I apologize for anybody who's out there who's screaming the actual name for it. But so I can attest that even for that.
Even in the audio program.
Correct.
So one of the fascinating things is when you look at sacred, like just think of how many times you've been in a yoga class or something, and people have been like, but that the shape of it actually is toroidal.
Okay.
So it creates a containment field that sort of loops back. So it's a very cyclical kind of energy. And an E is like a spiral.
Yes.
So that is more the sound of transformation, growth, renewal, that kind of thing. U, which is, our ooh, is consolidation and concentration. Like we're focusing here. So every time you say I am, you are with the I doing the focused intensity and then self-expression. And actually in terms of a biofield, you activate your biofield by going, I mean, if you want to expand it, that is a way to do it.
So is that what I need to do to raise my fire chi?
Maybe. Because I'm not going to say breathe.
You come over to my apartment, don't knock on the door because you just hear, I.
There have been things that my husband is just kind of like going with it.
Just going to keep walking.
Because yes, I've also, so I'll finish going through the alphabets.
Sorry.
And then, so A kind of expands outward and is openness, creativity, and creation. So I am is that focused intensity and then moving into creation. So it makes it make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
So that is one of the reasons why vowels are woo. But the other thing is that these shapes become scalar waves. And so, gentle listener, I'm actually going to let Mychal explain scalar waves. Mychal is looking at me like, no.
Sorry.
Was not expecting that.
No.
So scalar waves are a form of wave that has an instantaneous spread.
Okay.
So waves, we know light waves and sound waves and all of these things, and we know they travel at certain distances, at certain speeds. Scalar waves are just like there.
Instantaneous.
They are at the end of all of those spectrums. And that is, so I think one of the reasons why like prayer actually has been shown to work is because if you have all of these sounds within prayer, then you are sending those scalar waves instantaneously to other people or to situations or whatever. But the sounds, the way that they kind of encase you as you are sitting in the middle of those words. So I think like every creative would absolutely benefit from starting their practice with I am creative. Like just think of all those vowels.
So my mind is kind of checking out a little bit, mostly because
Because the wine's so good.
Yeah, that's why, because it's so good. I mean, it is, but that's not why. I'm thinking about, so there's a chant that you can do for meditation. Because the moment you said Om, I'm like, oh, the Om Mani Padme Hum. And if, because I was once gifted a bracelet that has that on it, and it came with it a little, directive of you can use this as a chant during meditation. It was going through all the different words and what the words mean, but also what each one of those words does. So that I remember specifically that Om, as you made that noise, that it comes up and actually cleans out your pituitary gland and also helps with sinus problems. So FYI, for those of you
suffering from allergy season, just Om it out.
Just Om it out. It'll help kind of clear out your sinuses. But all the other words had something similar where made a direct connection with a point in your body because the tone of what you were creating and how it vibrated in the body created some kind of response. Right. So that's what I have to offer here. Yeah.
No, and I absolutely. So I was working on this and have actually been looking at there is a prayer that is the 42 letter name of God and not calculating, but observing how many of those sounds are in there.
Is it abbreviated? Is there an abbreviated version? No. Okay.
But nice for trying.
Okay. I mean, worth asking.
But looking at the Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer, and this, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I did practice reading it and was like, nobody wants to hear this. They want to go to the internet and see it.
We'll trust that you will look it up if you're interested. Okay.
But just Abun de Bashmaya, just think of all of those vowels that are in there. And since Aramaic is a very, very vowel-centric sound-wise, it's just interesting that you're like constantly connecting to the universe, reality, with these waves by using, well, any of these words, but especially if you were in a focused sort of prayer situation or chanting or any kind of spiritual practice, that the actual sounds are working on you.
Yeah.
And so I've mentioned Eileen McKusick before, and she worked with the brothers Koren, and they put together basically a series of chants for your entire body that activate each different part of you. So like, I love that your breasts are yay.
Sorry. It took me a second to be like, did she just really say that?
Words Suzanne's never said.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
But really, if you say it, you can feel your chest vibrate. Yay.
Sorry.
Probably doesn't have to be that deep, but
I was going to say
that's where
that's where your yay is.
That's where my yay is.
Okay.
But those things that, can help work on inflammation or turning on your energy or all those different kinds of things. And so many of them are vowel sounds that are coupled with a consonant beginning. And again, I will put the link in the bio because I've been doing it and it's amazing. It's the most restful, beautiful, again, things my husband is just like, this is just the house I live in now. It's just, I remember telling him at the beginning of the year, I was like, it's about to get real noisy. Like, I need to start
of this year
really expressing. Yes.
Okay.
This
and he
is
just said, okay.
I'm moving into Gemini. I'm starting to practice. And he was like, okay, baby, whatever you need. Now, granted, he does wear headphones pretty much all the time. So it may not be bothering him that much. But yeah, that kind of thing. And so it is amazing to me the interconnectedness between and how we can do so much for ourselves without needing really anything else other than your own voice to just A-E-I-O-U it out.
And sometimes why?
I don't have the Y in my
list so it doesn't count then. So it's not sometimes why in this situation.
No.
Okay.
Not this time.
Okay.
But, there are plenty of people on like YouTube who say if you look at your name and you are, the gematria of the letters and the meanings and the numbers and all of that, and kind of understanding the powers that you, I'm putting this in quotes, y'all, kind of granted yourself when you picked your name for this lifetime. And then if you have changed your name, moving through life, kind of the things that you were laying down and the things that you were picking up and going through. So the difference of a Y versus an I and all that kind of thing. So those are other interesting ways in which vowels in particular have power.
So the thing that's popping into my mind. So when I went to Egypt and I got a cartouche of my name, when they do it, they have you spell your name out. Yes. But also, so what they're doing is they're attaching certain sounds to the hieroglyphics. And that's how they're translating your name into the hieroglyphics. And each one of those hieroglyphics has a meaning within itself, which means that a part of your name and how it's built means something and stands for something and has some kind of like innate ability, power, understanding associated with it. And so I remember, I don't think I got a written piece of paper that had it all, but I think he kind of told me, the gentleman who did my name, the different meanings for everything. So if you ever have the opportunity, I recommend doing it. It's really interesting about, because it's supposed to give you or give some kind of explanation to your insight into your personality of like how does the name that you have assign itself to you and its meaning and feeling overall. I know I'm taking this a slightly different direction here, but also when I've gotten the intuitive readings that we've talked about for the Edgar Cayce styled readings, and I asked once about my name because you may not think so, but I'm going to say on average, my first name in particular has a tendency to throw people a little bit. That's actually sometimes how I know that somebody heard me when I introduce myself and like, hi, I'm Mychal. And they go, sorry, what? I'm like, yes, you heard me correct.
This is one of the reasons why she knew I was one of her people, because I immediately went, oh, like David's first wife.
I'm like, nobody has ever known that. I always have to tell them when they're like, "Oh, did your parents want a boy?" Or I'm like, actually, my name and the way that it's spelled is traditionally a female name in the Bible. Exactly. And so, yes, that's how I was like,
Prove myself.
yeah.
Didn't even know it.
Yeah. Like, how did you know that? But so, yes, I asked about my name. I'm like, there has to be some kind of reason why my parents not only, I mean, I know the reason of like why my parents said that they settled on it, but beyond that, for the reasons that people don't realize that a name fits somebody when they're choosing their name when they're born. That being said, asking about my name in the reading, it was saying that, if I can remember, because it was so long ago, it was saying that what my name offers me, specifically Mychal, what it offers me is strength and resilience. And it gives me, mostly strength and resilience was what it kind of offered to me, which makes sense when you think about, well, first of all, if you think of Archangel Michael and what that kind of stands for. And I'm like, yeah, and I can tell you, I've also gone by my middle name at certain points in my life, which is a distinctly more feminine name. People don't question it ever. And that there's even a difference within me being called one name or the other. I see my middle name as being softer and a little bit more emotional, more sensitive. And versus when I go by Mychal, it automatically gives me like an internal strength to it. Like I can feel a big difference between the two names.
And gentle listeners, we're sitting here every time she says her name, she's like sitting up stronger and straighter and like more, no, I can lift that deadlift kind of thing.
Yeah. Just let me at it. Yeah. Like that's kind of how it makes me feel. And which is one of the reasons why I really enjoy my name, because it really, I feel, gives me a little bit of a can-do attitude.
And that's funny, the whole hieroglyph thing, because for my first book, because it was in ancient Egypt, my very darling editor made the experience of the launch be very special. And one of the things she did is get my name in hieroglyphs from the Met. And so she just picked out the letters and spelled out the whole thing. So because I have a silent E and, an extra N, she got the entire thing. And the first thing I did after I received it and was thank you, is I took off the extra letters because I was like, they're not, it's like Hebrew.
Yes.
It's phonetic. But yes, it's not a very balanced name looking in hieroglyphs. I have the folded cloth, and that just throws everything off.
Yeah.
And all the birds face the same direction, so it doesn't look very symmetrical. It looks like they're all just sitting on a wire.
Birds on a wire.
Birds on a wire.
Suzanne.
Hanging from a wire. But I think one of the other interesting things about this whole vowel thing is that in Hebrew, there are no vowels. Like, let me rephrase that. The vowels are not written. The vowels are indicated by the jots and the tittles that Jesus talked about. And that, so that you wouldn't accidentally say things that you didn't know what were the powers that you were using.
Right.
And to me, that's just like a full containment circle of an O back to, this is so powerful. This is something that we have forgotten. That is something that we can control just by talking, which sort of does make having a podcast suddenly become that much more, be that much more intentional and that much more careful. And as I'm saying this, I'm seeing the words written out in my head.
Yes.
And all of the vowels are very brightly colored right now.
Is it like a Beautiful Mind scenario where it's just popping up? And
I was going more with the Sherlock thing, but sure.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Let's try a little experiment here. So we were going through before. So for A, once again, what is that? What does A offer?
Well, I love that because it's the creativity, but it's creation, it's an expansion.
So the word abracadabra,
Oh, for real.
right?
Yes. I create and I create and I create. I
As I
mean,
speak,
yeah.
right? That's what that kind of translates to, which is why I think a lot of people would associate not realizing saying spells as, oh, well, this word was specifically in Latin, or like, okay,
Mhm.
take it to Harry Potter, that the way
Mhm.
that you say the inflection in which you say something is really important. And
Mhm.
I would agree with that, that you should, first of all, number one, know what you're saying and know
Mhm.
what it means in the first place. Don't just
Know
say
what your
words.
choice is that you are making
Yes,
and the consequences
correct. So,
and whatever entities you might be making the choice with.
correct, right? There's that. But then how you say it is really important because all of those sounds are really important. If you're employing that as being a part of the process,
Mhm.
then it's all how you say it is, yes,
Real powerful.
really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think along with any of these things that are also magical tools,
Mm-hmm.
if you are saying it with the understanding that every time I say a,
Mm-hmm.
I am expanding my creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I say I am focusing my intensity.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I say, I mean, just those kinds of things to like with anything, if you put your intention with it, you turn it into a ritual.
Yeah. I'm actually going to look something up really quick. A in hieroglyphics is a
A vulture,
vulture.
I know because I have one and I have a chick too.
Vulture in hieroglyph
Symbol because it was
means
one of the ones
what?
on Nehkbet. Was it Nehkbet? I think
Yeah,
so.
that's right. Symbolizes motherhood and the goddess Nehkbet, a protector of Upper Egypt. Basically means like mother energy. Also associated with the goddess Mut, Isis, and Hathor.
Just pick all your mother goddesses.
Yeah.
But I think the other part of that is not only the nurturing component of it, but the sort of you can lift up a car that has fallen, if necessary, ferocity,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to what we think of as a kind of defanged mother, as opposed to the mother goddess,
Yeah.
which is the origin of everything in almost all of these.
Well, because I was focusing on A, I wanted to kind
Mhm.
of see if even in hieroglyphics, different culture technically to kind of what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Yes and no, right?
Mhm.
But
But that was the source of creativity is the mother.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at. That even through different cultures, that they're kind of getting to the same
Mhm.
place.
Which is why I found the so fascinating to be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we really do use that to create a toroidal field around ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
A field of protection, a field of connection, a field of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And we really do use I when we are trying to take that step out in self-expression.
Yeah.
And expand our biofield.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us on V for Vowels. And next
Oh
week.
yeah. I almost totally.
Oh, am I?
You're picking.
We have a. I.
It really wants me to increase my fire chi.
So we will be talking I when we see you next time on
All the will.
A to Z.
To Z.